Welcome to the Impossible Shift. I'm your host, Jennifer Benson. Every person has a story, a moment that changed them, a challenge that tested them, a choice that shaped who they would become. On this podcast, we explore those stories through conversations about healing, identity, resilience, purpose, and personal transformation. We'll uncover the lessons that emerge when people face life's most difficult moments and choose to keep moving forward. Because transformation rarely happens all at once. It happens one choice at a time. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin. Welcome to the Impossible Shift. My name is Jennifer Benson, and I'm your host today. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing to you Brett Koon, who is a meditation teacher and inspirational speaker and leads meditation retreats. He has been meditating for over 34 years, which has profoundly impacted his life. He has devoted his life to not only waking up to the truth that he is, but supporting others on doing the same. So I'd like to welcome Brett. Brett, thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Jen. I really appreciate you having me on here. I appreciate this talk of impossible shift because we all have a story that has profoundly changed our lives. And so I'd like to share one of the stories, one of many that has changed my life. And that was really not being sure whether God existed or not. And even though I am a minister, I never try to push God on anybody. Each experience is their own experience. And so for me, though, I would say God, or you could even say life, presented itself to me in a way. What happened was actually my father passed in 1992, and I had done a lot of grieving over his death. He was somebody that I just really loved and adored, was my hero in many ways. And so I had done a workshop about a year after his passing, and it really stirred the pot. I thought I was done grieving, but really I had not been. And so after doing this workshop, it brought up this intense pain, fear that was hidden underneath. And I started waking up in a cold sweat every night, several times. And this went on for about a week. And I said, eventually I said, look, God, I don't know if you exist. Dad, I feel like you're out there, but I don't know that's true for sure. But I'm inviting both of you in to help me resolve this because I truly don't know what to do. And so I just said, I'm going to sit here and just see what happens. And so I didn't really know anything about meditation at the time. I didn't really know anything about God at the time, or certainly anything about, what goes on beyond this physical life. So I sat there, and then all of a sudden I felt this incredible rush of energy come within me. I didn't know what it was, but I felt like it was Dad. And so what ended up happening is that I ended up having all these thoughts rush through my head, all these thoughts about how I was trying to save my dad, because all the dreams were about, in fact, I still remember one of the dreams. One of the dreams was about a python was choking him to death, and I was trying to pull the snake off, and I just couldn't get him off. And I realized when all these thoughts are rushing in my head, I realized it was all about trying to save Dad's life. Like I could have done more. I should have done more. But then in that moment, when all the thoughts came in, I realized just how much I had done for my dad. I would travel over to Grand Rapids, which was about a 2.5 hour drive for me. I went over there on the weekend. I was working full time. I was going for my master's degree at the time, and everything was just so overwhelming. And there was the part of me that said, oh my God, how much can I take of this? Because my dad went through his cancer for about a year, and with 5 surgeries, just went through a lot of stuff. And it was just really stressful, of course, for him, but everyone else around him. So in trying to do the best I could, I just felt like, oh, but I could have done more. I could have done more. And I know for sure that we all have those thoughts like, yeah, I should have done it different, or I could have done more. But in this moment, when all the thoughts started rushing in my head and all the energy was there, I realized there truly was nothing else that I could have done. He lived his life. He was young in most people's view. He was only 58 years old, and certainly young in my eyes, but it was time, and I started recognizing more and more how there is something out there beyond this body, beyond this mind, that called me more and more. So the beautiful thing about that is it really woke me up in a way to say, I want to explore more with God and find out really what God is about. And so it put me on a journey to really discover, who is God? What is God? Who am I? What am I? And that has been going on for many, many years. And I would say that where it has led me is to really a deep self inquiry to really ask the question, who am I really? And this question to me is one of the most profound questions that we could ever ask ourselves, because we're always looking to be happy in some way. But the truth is, most of us are looking for happiness somewhere outside of ourselves. So we look for a better job, a better relationship, more money, doing more fun things, all of these things. And although there's nothing wrong with that, it will never give you that sustaining happiness, that sustaining joy that is really the truth of who we are. So where it has led me is to a place deep within myself where I've been able to shed this idea, this belief that I'm something physical. Because if we really reflect on that, we could say, well, if I am this body and I am this mind, then what happens when this body and this mind die? And the more we inquire about that, the more we investigate within ourselves, we find that there's something beyond the physical form. And I know sometimes people say, well, nobody will know, rather what's beyond this physical form. But I would actually say that's not my truth, because in letting go of this idea that I'm the body and I'm the mind, it has opened other doors for me to see that there is something eternal, an eternal truth of who we are. And it's nothing special about one person. It's something that is within and accessible to all people. But it does come with an exploration and an investigation into who we really are. So I would say, the story that I shared with you with my dad, and again, that was just one of many, which is probably true for most or all of you as well. It really profoundly touched my life because it got me exploring in a direction perhaps I wouldn't have explored before. But now I feel like I've never had a closer relationship with the truth of who I am, as well as, I would say God. Some people might say differently, but whatever that source is that is higher than you, and connecting with that. And there's a statement by some sages who would say, if you look for yourself, you'll find God. But if you look for God, you'll find yourself. So whichever path you look for, it's all great. And I want to leave you with this last thought is, no matter what your religion or non-religion is, no matter what your political affiliation or whatever organization or whatever you're a part of, I would say this one thing, and I believe this quote is by Aldous Huxley, and it says, be willing to seek the truth no matter what the cost. Be willing to seek the truth no matter what the cost, because when you really are interested in the truth and not just proving yourself to be right, all things truly are possible. And I know it's capable with anyone. So I hope that you recognize that you do have infinite potential within you. And I hope this has served in some way to help you to discover that.
Thank you so much, Brett, for joining us. If Brett's message has resonated with you, you can find out more information about Brett and connect with him by looking at the podcast description. On there, you'll find out more information about him, including some of his social links. And if this episode has resonated, go ahead and give a like and a share. Thank you for joining us at The Impossible Shift. Until next time, take care. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Impossible Shift. If today's conversation resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who may need to hear it. You can learn more about The Impossible Shift, explore resources, books, coaching, and upcoming projects at theimpossibleshift.com. Until next time, remember, choice is your power. I'll see you at the next episode.